Storytime with Uncle Micah.
Welcome back to Story Time with Uncle Micah. I wanted to share with you a little bit about my own story and my interaction with things creative. So, from as early as I can remember, my parents read me stories. And one aspect of this that was, I think, maybe not unique to our own family, but I have vivid memories of laying on the living room floor with a big coloring book in front of me while my dad or my mom sat in their chairs in the living room and read to us uh, the Chronicles of Narnia, the Archives of Anthropos, Laura Ingalls Wilder stories. Later on, the Redwall series. These were all very formative stories for us, and it was a big part of our growing up where we would sit and listen to these stories being read. But it didn't just stop with nice bedtime stories. Early mornings were also times to engage with maybe not something that's traditionally creative, but we would sing. Breakfast table, we would sing. My father would read to us from um, a theologian or something that would get us thinking about our relationship with God every day. We would memorize scripture, we would sing a hymn. Um, and that was very formative for me, engaging with material of all different kinds of all different types, all different levels, and engaging with that material in a meaningful way every day. It just reinforced for me the importance of feeding myself mentally, feeding myself creatively. Sometimes at night when they would be reading to us, I remember that I would draw what I was hearing. And so it was translating this written story into something visual for me. It was translating my response and what I was hearing, what I was thinking about, and I was trying to represent that in some way graphically. I've never been a fantastic artist, but it is still something that I do. I react to things and I will write a response. I will draw. I will take a photograph. I still enjoy painting. All of these are different media that I use to respond to what I'm putting into myself creatively. So I find it interesting that that was so formative in my life from a very, very young age. And I remember those times so vividly. And these stories really embedded themselves deeply within me. The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis um, was the first time I ever experienced that the idea that something creative could also be used to express something theological. Uh, the Archives of Anthropos series by John White, that's another one that expresses theological ideas, but does it in a creative way and designed for children to be able to process some of these big ideas. The Laura Ingalls Wilder series, fantastic demonstration of how you can use real life to inspire story, to inspire creativity. And it's not that those stories were fictionalized. It's that it's that um, a lot of people responded to her. They didn't believe that necessarily she would remember things at such a young age, and so she would put it in kind of a story format. And as I grew older, and I still continue to connect with those stories in particular, the Laura Ingalls Wilder stories, it was really a way for her to celebrate her parents in a very creative way. Talk about her life and what she had lived through and what she'd experienced, but it really celebrates her relationship with her parents in a neat way. So those are just some examples. And as I grew older, we made regular trips to the library to begin to explore our own areas of interest because those times, those family times when we would read together, it was really a very communal thing where we were all reacting to it and responding to it. We would often finish a chapter and talk about it. But when we'd go to the library, I could look for the things I was interested in: knights and armor and dragons and fighter pilots and um, stories about explorers and stories about um, the frontier life and stories about, um, well, just a wide variety of heroic, both male and female, heroic deeds and activities. I mean, I read a lot about scientists and discoveries and just that whole exploration, the idea of exploring something new, and the challenges that came from it. I very early started to read Robert Louis Stevenson, Johann Wyss's the Swiss Family Robinson. Very much, I explored those myself personally because those were ones that I had always been interested in, and I didn't just stop at exploring them through the book. I would look at other people's work, the adaptations from those works, whether it was the Disney film Swiss Family Robinson, um, or Treasure Island. I mean, there's by Robert Louis Stevenson. There have been a number of different adaptations of that, and some of my favorites were maybe some of the ones that are more obscure. But I've always interacted with story, and it really came at the feet of my parents. It started at the feet of my parents, where they would tell us stories and read us stories. One vivid memory, not too long ago, um, I was gathered in my parents' living room, and all the cousins were laying on the floor, sitting on the floor, listening to my mom and dad tell their story and talk about how they met and their early married life. And it was just this wonderful time of just of hearing a true story. And there were aspects that I had never heard before. There were definitely aspects that our kids had never heard before. And that was amazing to watch that impartation of storytelling to another level, to another generation, and to experience it again for the first time for myself. Uh, so there are a lot of different ways that you can interact with the creative, and you can interact and respond to these stories that have been told for generations. And so thank you for joining me today on this episode of Storytelling with Uncle Micah. Have a wonderful day.